One aspect of gaming that lures people in is the power fantasy. While your everyday life is full of people trying to trick you into buying things or doing stuff for them, the gaming world is somewhere where you can feel like an awesome hero who's always in control. Most of the time. One video game genre that really thrives on this is open world games, as their environments have plenty of nooks and crannies to cram deception and dishonesty into. The following titles did exactly that, with great moments that tripped up players in the best way possible. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 open world games that tricked you. Number 10. Madness of the Stones, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Ubisoft has created some wonderful open worlds across the Assassin's Creed series. Assassin's Creed Valhalla's Anglo-Saxon England is among them, and there's a lot of captivating stuff to discover, including this trippy as hell world event. When exploring Kent, you might stumble across a madman talking to, or rather shouting at, a circle of stones. He claims that they change number every time he counts them, so he asks you to give it a go. And that seems simple enough, right? Well, you'd be wrong. The game messes with your head as, like the madman, you get a different number each time you count them. You'll soon be ranting like him as these stones increase and decrease without any way of telling how or why. It somehow gets even weirder after that, as after a few tries, Ivor hallucinates and the madman turns into a stone. What in the name of Odin is going on here? The world event then concludes with no effort given to explain the surreal phenomenon. If you thought AC Valhalla was all killing and raiding, you were clearly mistaken. Number 9. Sudden appearances of the Giga Clan, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. Being a Hyrulean citizen is not as idyllic an existence as you might think. Sure, you get to live in a luscious fantasy land, but you also have to contend with wild monsters and weird phenomena all the time. However, whilst most citizens struggle, some aren't as harmless as they appear. When exploring the open world of Hyrule, there's a good chance you'll run into an interesting NPC and decide to strike up a conversation with them. 90% of the time, this will lead to fun dialogue and maybe even a quest. But there are also times when they reveal themselves to be Yiga foot soldiers. This dastardly clan of Shiga assassins/thieves appear throughout the land as regular citizens who lure you in before attacking you. You can expect to see them plenty of times in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and they sure are a nuisance. These NPCs are as slippery as the peels of the bananas they love so much. You're left to constantly scream, "Not again," every time they get you. Number 8. All the Mimics, Dark Souls. Opening treasure chests is so ubiquitous in gaming that players can probably do it in their sleep. Grab that chest, get the reward, and then move on to the next one. It's basic stuff. Well, in typical From Software fashion, the developers decided that players expecting convention needed to be humbled. Mimics are a form of non-respawning enemy in the Dark Souls games. They prey on players by disguising themselves as chests, waiting for unlucky victims to open them before attacking with their monstrous jaws. The creatures are like Venus flytraps that lure you in with the promise of something sweet, only to make you feel like smashing your controller. Your first encounter with one is a traumatic experience that leaves you paranoid every time you go to open another chest. Now, calling Dark Souls an open world game might be a bit of a stretch, as it takes more of a wide linear format. Still, it just about qualifies, and these iconic tricksters can't be ignored on a list like this. Their promise of bountiful treasure turned to brutal damage is gaming trickery at its finest. Number 7. Lured into an alleyway, Grand Theft Auto 5. If you fancy a spot of thievery, murder, or general social disruption, but don't think you'd suit a prison uniform, then Grand Theft Auto 5's Los Santos is the perfect place for you. However, while you're mostly in charge of these in-game criminal activities, some moments will make you think, hey, that's supposed to be my job. This open world game is full of danger and crime, and as such, you can sometimes become the victim of this criminal intent. However, of all the random events, this one is particularly embarrassing. If you choose to hang about in La Mesa next to Ammunition, then you might encounter a woman calling out for help. The nicer among you will follow her, hoping to be of assistance, but that's when she and a male friend jump you, pulling guns and demanding your money. Uh-oh. Of course, their guns are about as threatening as pea shooters compared to your brutal arsenal in GTA 5, but even so, you'll be kicking yourself for falling for such an obvious trap. And you're supposed to be the criminal mastermind, remember? Yeah, right. Number 6. That is not Bruce Wayne, Batman Arkham Knight. The Batman Arkham games famously love to misdirect you. Hell, Scarecrow spends almost all his time in Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight messing with your head. Still, he's not the only villain with tricks up his sleeve. During the Friend in Need Most Wanted mission in Batman Arkham Knight, you're made to check in on Lucius Fox in Wayne Tower. On the way, you'll step into an elevator and emerge as Bruce Wayne. Your thought process then goes a little something like this. Cool, I'm Bruce Wayne. That's a nice change of pace. Wait, why am I beating up Lucius? What's going on? Why is Batman here? Am I not playing as Bruce? It turns out that once you exited the elevator, you switched to the perspective of Thomas Elliot, otherwise known as Hush. This popular DC villain is known for his obsession with childhood friend Bruce Wayne, and had plastic surgery to look just like him and enact his own twisted revenge. This is a genius way to work Hush in, as one of his goals is to make everyone think he is Mr. Wayne. If he managed to trick you, then Gotham really was close to being in real danger. Number 5. The Haunted House, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Geralt of Rivia has to contend with many terrifying things in The Witcher 3. That said, exploring a haunted house is still scary, even within his deadly line of work. During The Witcher 3's Novigrad Dreaming quest, you venture on a mission to find Corinne Tilly. This quest takes you to a supposedly haunted house she's attempting to save. Ooh, spooky. The owner of the residence tells you about the strange events plaguing the building, causing you to investigate with trepidation. Upon finding Corinne, you discover a freaky ghost child standing over her and giving her nightmares. So the house is really haunted. Well, no, not really. After some investigation, you discover the culprit is not a ghastly ghost or ghoul, but rather a little godling named Sarah. Godlings do look creepy, but thankfully they're mostly harmless. Naturally, once you've unearthed her ruse, you can either evict Sarah or let her stay. The latter leads to a wholesome outcome where she and Corinne move in together. Number 4. Tricked the whole time. Shadow of the Colossus. This is one of the most infamous tricks ever played on gamers, so it was an absolute shoo-in for this list. The story to this gorgeous and iconic open-world game has you take on the role of a young man called Wanda, who seeks to resurrect his dead love, Mono. To do this, he must kill the 16 massive beings known as the Colossi, who act as the guardians to Dormin, a supernatural being capable of resurrecting your dead love. So you're a devoted lover battling against scary monsters. That seems fair and perfectly just. Well, that's what you believe throughout most of the game. However, after a while, it becomes clear you've been duped. The more Colossi you kill, the more suspicious the situation becomes, culminating in a heartbreaking ending where Dormin revives Mono, but takes control of Wanda's body. It turns out this evil spirit was using you the whole time, and those monsters you killed were the guardians of the land. Team Ico seamlessly tricked you into becoming the villain, and by the end, all you can think is, oh god, what have I done? Number 3. Arghyll Lake Dragon Surprise, Elden Ring. From Software, as already established, is no stranger to pulling a trick or two on the player. In fact, it's more like a trick or 200, as a big part of the appeal of Soulsborne games is their willingness to throw curveballs at you. Elden Ring is naturally no exception. There's a metric ton of tricks this open world pulls on you, which could take up a whole list alone. However, this epic depiction is one of the first, and as such, deserves some high praise. When entering the lands between for the first time, some players will instantly head to Arghyll Lake. Once there, you'll see a little group of folk around a bonfire, and truthfully, it looks like a pretty fun time. However, as soon as you head over to say hello, you're met with the sudden emergence of a bloody fire-breathing dragon. Damn! Flying Dragon Arghyll swoops in, kills everybody, and then eviscerates you. Even those who are great at Soulsborne games will struggle to survive the initial encounter, and that's a welcome to Elden Ring, baby. Number 2. A Night to Remember, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Lost items, an empty wallet, a foggy memory, making friends with an incognito Daedric prince, these are all things that happen on the average night out. Wait, actually, what was that last one? Skyrim's A Night to Remember is a hilarious quest that brings the hangover into Tamriel. It starts when a friendly man named Sam challenges you to a seemingly innocent drinking contest. After 3 pints, which let's face it, is pretty embarrassing, you wake up in the temple of Dibella with no memory of your night and an angry priestess. From there, you enter a wild goose chase as you retrace your steps, slowly piecing together your drunken adventure. It turns out you did plenty of shocking things, including stealing a goat, selling it to a giant, and even getting engaged to a hag raven. Congratulations! But there's an even bigger shock around the corner. When reuniting with Sam, he reveals that he's the Daedric Prince Sanguine, lord of hedonism, revelry, and debauchery. And he's tricked you into acting a fool for his own amusement, meaning the whole thing was pretty much a prank. Oh boy, how embarrassing. Number 1. The Sweet Dream Scam, Cyberpunk 2077. Like Kiwi says in Cyberpunk Edgerunners, never trust a soul in Night City. Cyberpunk 2077's open world has criminals and con artists around every corner. If you're not careful, then you will fall victim to them. And this frustrating as hell side job teaches you that lesson the hard way. The Sweet Dreams job starts when you encounter a guy called Stefan, who offers you an allegedly insane brain dance. Of course, it doesn't come cheap, costing a whopping $16,000 and $4,000 on top to use his compatible wreath. Sadly, anyone brave enough to shell out the eddies will quickly regret it. After giving the BD a go, you lose consciousness and wake up in the same ice bath you found Sandra Dorset in. To add insult to injury, Johnny even mocks you for falling for such an obvious trick. And to be fair, he's right. So now you've lost 20,000 euro dollars, your clothes, your equipment, and your dignity. Thankfully, you can take out the enemies in the area, regain your stuff, and head back to Stefan for a nice little refund. Still, you never get your time back. That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment box which open world trick got you, and I'm sure it got plenty more of us. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at Jess McDonald, or my Twitch where I'm Temper Tress, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.